Well, good morning, friends. It's great to see all of you, and for those of you who might be visiting us this Labor Day weekend, my name is Father Chris Stanish. I'm the Vicar General for the diocese, and along with Father Jim Wozniak, the pastor here, we just want to offer you a very warm welcome and let you know what a great joy it is to be able to celebrate this liturgy together. So last week I had the 8 a.m. Mass, and so I wasn't able to see all of you. But one of the things that I preached about was the fact that when I was a kid, I always wanted to be an archaeologist. And in my mind, I thought that I'd be traveling to different places and finding these hidden treasures. And as I reflected deeper, I realized that I wasn't attracted to archaeology because of the traveling or because of all the fame and fortune that archaeologists have. It was because I wanted to be a part of something greater than myself. I wanted to pursue greatness. And so one of the things that I shared with them was that Pope Benedict, in one of his documents, said that we were created for greatness. That we were created for God himself, to be filled by God, but that our heart is too small for the greatness to which it is destined. And therefore, the heart must be stretched so that way it can receive the gifts that God wants to give to us. And so as I was praying with that, and along with the readings for this weekend, I kept thinking about the question, but how do we measure greatness? Right? Because I think a lot of people in the world will say, well, we measure greatness by how successful you are, or how much money you've made, or how much wealth you've amassed. And so we can do a little thought experiment, right? In the past 200 years, how many millionaires has the United States produced? It's a hard answer, but I will tell you, as of last year, there were over 25 million millionaires. But of those millionaires, they die. Their toys go back to the box. Other people buy and live in their magnificent homes. And so how many names do you actually remember of those millionaires? Right? Everything that they worked for has turned to dust, except for a few who have learned the true measure of greatness. And so it begs the question, what's the secret? Well, my friends, the secret to greatness is not measured by how much we gain, but by how much we give. Right? This is the secret, that if you and I truly want to be great, then we have to be shining examples of holiness. We have to be shining examples of humility in today's world. Right? We can't be ashamed of our faith. We can't be embarrassed to live it out. Right? The power of the gospel is what gives us our greatness. And so we must confidently live that out. And that's the challenge for you and me today. So if we look at our readings, they're shouting at us about what it is to measure greatness. Right? The first reading says, "Conduct your affairs with humility, and you'll be loved more than the giver of gifts. Humble yourself the more, the greater you are, and you will find favor with God." And in the gospel, right, Jesus tells us this parable about this wedding banquet and helps us to understand that those who humble themselves will be exalted. Our faith is like that. It often has these opposites that somehow come together. That in order to be great, you have to be small. In order to be exalted, you have to be humbled. Right? It doesn't make sense. But my friends, I think a lot of times we don't understand what humility is. Right? Humility is not a matter of living with our heads bowed down to the ground. It's not a matter of our eyes lowered. It's not a matter of never speaking a word. It's not a matter of letting people walk all over us. Right? That's not humility. No, humility is an honest assessment of who we are. Right? It's a matter of what we do and the gifts that we've been given by God and how we use them. And so the result of that assessment is the ability to see ourselves as God sees us. Right? He sees the whole person. He made us in his image and likeness, so he knows how awesome we are, but he also knows our failings, and so he knows how pathetic we are. But in that, he chooses us as his beloved sons and daughters, right? So humility is a matter of seeing ourselves as God sees us, right? We see our greatness, we see our failures, but we know that we still belong to God, that we are his beloved sons and daughters. And so humility consists in keeping ourselves within our own bounds, right? Not trying to be our own source, not to try to determine what is right and wrong ourselves, not to try to be the measure of all things ourselves. No, we're not meant to be withdrawn. We're not meant to be isolated. We're meant to be aware and thankful for these gifts. We're meant to pour ourselves out as a gift to other people and allow them to receive us and in turn to pour themselves out so that we can receive them, right? That's the law of the gift. But so often in our lives, we want to place ourselves above others, right? So often in our lives that instead of using our gifts to encourage and to build up the people around us, we waste all our time and we waste all our energy being jealous and envious of everybody else's gifts and not realizing that they too have struggles. They too are broken. They too have wounds, right? And so especially with social media these days, all we see are the good things that people want us to see, right? But that's fake. And so God is asking us to be true to the graces that he pours into our souls. He's asking us to be true to the gifts that he has given us for the encouragement of others. I mean, that's the thing. When we encounter people who are humble, it moves us. It inspires us, right? We want to be better then. And I think it has to do a lot with the fact that authentic humility reveals God, right? Because God humbled himself to become one of us, right? He took a low position in order to pour himself out on the cross, right? So when you see a humble person, it is a mirror of God himself. I mean, even now, to this day, God lowers himself at this altar in what looks like bread and wine. I mean, how low can you go? I mean, in that regard, if you and I can be true to the grace of God, then we'll be able to live like him. We'll be able to be like him. We'll be able to be images of him in the world, right? As for those millionaires throughout America, I mean, I've come to believe that the only names that have really lived on are the ones that knew this secret, right? That it's not about how much we gain, but how much we give, right? And those are the names that kind of keep coming to our mind, but I think far greater are the names of those who live this greatness of humility. And so I think about the apostles. I think about St. Francis. I think about Mother Teresa. You know, I even think about like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. To this day, their names live on because of their humility. And their humility was not so much a series of individual actions or practices. It was a way of life, right? They were able to do that day in and day out. And so we have to ask ourselves, how do we answer the challenge of humility? You know, what do we do in our life to practice humility? So the spiritual challenge that I want to pose to you is a really, really hard one. Online, there's a prayer called the Litany of Humility. So Google it, Yahoo it, Bing it, DuckDuckGo it, whatever your search engine is. But in each of those lines, it's a way to ask the Lord to help you grow in humility. And it's going to be challenging, but in many ways, it'll act as an examination of conscience to say, how am I doing? How am I living humility? Am I striving for the greatness to which God is calling me to?